Kim Porberdeas from Amazon PLS Phone Wave 95P, and I'm going to introduce you the Apple AirPods. The objective of this presentation is to first, determine the features, second, show the process in using charging and cleaning the AirPods, and last, identify the common issues and troubleshooting features that will make life so much better. AirPods are wireless Bluetooth earbuds designed by Apple Incorporated. They were first announced on September 7, 2016, alongside the iPhone 7. Within 2 years, they became Apple's most popular accessories. There are a few good reasons why Apple AirPods are so popular. They are lightweight, easy to use, reliable offer, decent sound per pound, and ring Siri to life in your ears. Plus, although they work best when used with an Apple product, they can be paired with any Bluetooth device from smart TVs to smartphones.
Here's how to charge your Apple AirPods. You can charge your AirPods 2 different ways. Option 1, put your AirPods in the case and connect your case to a light. Your AirPods and your case will charge simultaneously. You cannot charge your AirPods without the case, but you can charge the case without the AirPods. When you're not plugged in, the case recharges your AirPods while you're on the move. You can also charge your AirPods wirelessly. Simply place the AirPod case onto a QI charger. This is bought separately. Wireless charging comes standard for AirPods Pro, but not the regular AirPods. Now your AirPods are charged and ready to use. Here's how to clean your Apple AirPods. Let's start with the AirPods themselves. Wipe them clean with a soft, lip-free cloth, slightly dampened with water. Then, use another soft, lip-free cloth to dry it. Make sure not to get any liquid in the openings. You can carefully dig out earwax with the pointed end of a dental floss stick. This worked well for us, but be careful if you're using a sharp object. Apple suggests you use a dry cotton swab instead. For AirPod Pro users, you can clean the ear tips by rinsing them in water. Just make sure you don't rinse with soap or other household cleaners. Wipe the AirPods with a soft, dry, lint-free cloth to dry, and make sure they are completely dry before reattaching them. To reattach, align the oval shapes on the AirPod with the ear tips. To clean the case, use a soft, dry, lip-free cloth for the outside. If necessary, dampen the cloth with alcohol. Make sure not to get any liquid in the charging ports. You can remove debris from the lightning connector with a dry, clean, soft bristled brush. If the inside of the cover needs to be cleaned, you can use a soft toothbrush dipped in alcohol. Do not clean the case with any abrasive materials. Now your AirPods in its case are as good as new.
Back everyone. I always make these type of videos on my third channel and my second channel, but I don't really drop them on my main one. So I figured I might as well talk about some of the more common, AirPod problems that I've seen in my life and pretty much how to fix them. Now this is not going to be a full in-depth crazy tutorial, but I try my best. Basically the most popular videos I've done on my second channel for AirPods, I'll go ahead and try to describe them. And hopefully I'll leave like some meta links or some, timestamps in the description so you can go and skip to those specific issues that you're having and go ahead and kind of fix it from there, and it'll pretty much narrow it down. So the very first problem that I've seen a ton of people run into all the time, and that I've experienced every single day, almost every single time I use AirPods, is only one side working. So what this basically means is that if you take your AirPod out and you go ahead and put it in your ear, and you go ahead and actually take out the other one, don't put it back in, but you take out the other one, put it in your ear as well. Basically sometimes these AirPods will actually end up not syncing up properly, and only one of them will be working where the other one is still outputting at the same volume, nothing changed. And pretty much every single time this has ever happened, the best way that I've seen this work time and time again is to actually go ahead and take your AirPods out of your ears, put them back in your case, shut it off, and just let it wait for like 5 seconds. Typically what happens here is that your phone will go ahead and disconnect with your AirPods, and you can go ahead and then open these bad boys back up, put them back in your ear, and you will probably see that they've synced back up and they will end up working there. Now, some other ways that I've seen this, tampered with, in some ways I've seen this actually mess up even more, is that if you have a bunch of earwax or dirt and stuff built into your AirPods. So when you get your AirPods, they're brand new, they typically work. But if it's not a software issue, then typically you have a lot of crust in your AirPods, you have crusty AirPods, as I used to say, and you probably have to go ahead and clean those things off before you go ahead and continue onward. I've seen this time and time again, and that is typically what I've seen and what I've seen people, end up, my AirPods back in the day were like that, now they're clean, I promise. So that's the very first thing, or that's the second thing I would recommend if only one set of your AirPods work, is to clean them out thoroughly and then go ahead and reconnect them back, and they should end up working. If it still doesn't work, disconnect your AirPods from your iPhones or Androids and reconnect from there. So that's the first issue that I've seen a lot of people run into, and that's typically what I would do in that case. Now, let's say the next issue is, your AirPods microphone isn't working. Now, this can happen, if you're trying to take phone calls or FaceTime calls or something, and for some reason the microphone isn't working. Now, in case you guys don't know, the microphone is actually built into the bottom of your AirPods right here. So if you look right here, basically, you'll see that at the bottom you have this little hole thing, silver thing, whatever. This is typically where the microphone is. I've also heard that sometimes it's like other places, like right here and stuff, but usually this is where the main microphone is. Now, if you're on your AirPods and for some reason they are connected and your microphone isn't working, now this could be two things. One, maybe it's your AirPod problem, or maybe it's your phone problem. Now, in this case, let's say if it's your AirPod problem, now let's say the microphone is supposed to be fully working, but it's just not working in this case. Now, what this basically means is that your AirPods are faulty and they don't function properly. But if they do, and they do for 100% fact, then it might mean that you have a lot of debris and earwax and whatever dirt built up in this specific microphone hole. So I would recommend taking a Q-tip out, clean it out thoroughly here, put them back in your ear, and they should end up fixing themselves and they should end up working on both sets of AirPods. If that doesn't end up working, then obviously go onto your phone and you want to go ahead and basically allow the microphone settings within your settings app for each individual app. Sometimes you may have not even allowed the microphone in those apps, such as Snapchat, Instagram, so on and so forth. So you want to go ahead and allow the microphone in those specific apps, and that should end up working with your AirPods at that point. Now, the next thing is basically how to fix your AirPods if they're not charging or if they're not functioning properly, and aka charging. Now, this can happen for a couple of different reasons. Now, let's make our way down to this bottom hole. Typically, as you guys know, on the bottom of these machines, we have the lightning ports right here. What this allows us to do is plug in our charger right here, and it'll end up functioning and working properly. However, sometimes there can be, like I said before, debris, stuff just randomly built in and caked up in there. And typically what happens here is that over time, not within one day, but over time, this can actually build up and cause even more issues and eventually cause these specific chargers to not even be able to charge our AirPods. Now, this is a huge issue because obviously you'll not be able to charge it. So what I would recommend doing here is getting some sort of Q-tip or getting some sort of, cleaning material, cotton swab, anything that can fit in there. I've heard toothpicks before too, and kind of, scrape in there very, very lightly. You don't want to mess up anything, and just kind of get something in there and then pry it out. Do not use anything metal. Do not use like a, SIM card eject tool or anything like that. Use like a toothpick or some type of plastic, prying tool in there and scrape out anything that's in there. Eventually you'll see that you have a bunch of cotton and random stuff built in there. So that's the very first thing I would recommend doing in that case. Then I would go ahead and recommend, turning on your AirPods again and seeing if they function. I guarantee you in this case, they'll end up charging. Typically, if you see that orange light here, that means they're charged. If it's green, typically it's, fully charged. So that's the very first thing I would recommend doing if they're still not charging. Now, if it's the actual AirPods that aren't charging in the case, then what I would recommend doing here is taking out your AirPods and making sure everything is cleaned out within your AirPods. Taking that same toothpicks, taking that same cotton swab and cleaning out everything from within here, and then taking the cotton swab and then fully prying it in there and pulling out anything you can. Typically, they should be clean. There shouldn't be a bunch of earwax in there or anything like that. And if it's set and if it's clean, I'd recommend taking your AirPods, cleaning out the microphones at the bottom again one more time, and plugging them straight in. Typically, this should end up fixing those specific issues. So your AirPods case should end up charging with this specific thing, but your AirPods themselves should also end up charging in this specific situation as well. Now, let's say everything is working out so far, but this last issue is one that keeps plaguing you, and that is your AirPods that just keep disconnecting. No matter what you do, they just keep disconnecting over and over again. Now, what I'll ask you is, which specific device are you connecting your AirPods to? Are you connecting them to an Android device? Or are you connecting them to an iPhone or an iPad or Android, basically? Now, if you're connecting them to an Android device, it's typical that these AirPods disconnect. I've had Androids, I've connected a ton of AirPods to them, and realistically, every time you go ahead and put them in your ear, they don't automatically connect, aka they disconnect from your device every single time you put them in the case. Now, this is very annoying and I don't like it. So if you're using an Android, you will have to reconnect every time. I don't know if there's been software improvements to fix that so far, but last time I used it, which was like 2 months ago, that's typically what happens. Now, let's say it's your iPhone that keeps disconnecting from your AirPods. Now, this typically means, from what I've seen, that your AirPods are just sometimes calibrated with multiple different devices. So sometimes I'll have it connected to my iMac and my iPhone. And if that ends up being the case, especially with these new versions of software, the Big Sur, macOS Big Sur and iOS 14, they have this new AirPod handoff feature. So if you're going from an iMac or an iPhone or whatever, it'll go ahead and switch from one device to the other. So you can go into your settings for both devices, if you're using a MacBook, an iPad, or an iPhone, and I recommend turning that specific feature off, the AirPod handoff feature, so it doesn't automatically switch from one device to the other. Now, if that ends up working and you don't even have it installed, or you're not even on those versions of software, then typically it is another software issue. Luckily, it's not a hardware issue for your AirPods, probably, and that means that your AirPods may not even be fully charged. I've seen this time and time again, especially with me. Sometimes I think my AirPods are charging and everything, but for some reason the case is charged, but the AirPods aren't. And you can go ahead and put your iPhone next to your case, or your iPhone 12 or whatever next to the AirPods case, and it'll show you how much those are charged. And typically at the end of the day, those will go ahead and tell you, your AirPods, case is at 100%, but your AirPods are only at 2%, and they'll just keep disconnecting until they're fully charged. So you want to wait until your AirPods are fully charged, and then go ahead and retry to go ahead and connect to them, and hopefully they'll end up working. Now, if that doesn't end up working, what I recommend doing is totally resetting your AirPods. So put your AirPods back in their case, hold down this button back here until this front light turns white, and once it begins flashing white, you can go ahead and take your iPhone or whatever and go ahead and wirelessly connect your AirPods to the iPhone, and that should end up fixing the situation. If it still doesn't end up fixing, then again, like I said, reboot your phone, turn off your Bluetooth, turn it back on, and try reconnecting your AirPods there, and that should probably end up fixing those issues. So